Good evening and welcome to the September 24th meeting of Municipal Council, which I will now call to order and ask if there are any declarations of interest from members of Council. Seeing none, we will move along to our land acknowledgement. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nations and other Indigenous peoples. And on behalf of Council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. We have no deputations tonight, so we will move to a very, very special birthday acknowledgement this evening. I now have the distinct honor of introducing Mr. Jim Parks, resident of Mount Albert, who has recently celebrated his 100th birthday. An extraordinary We'll take the numbers off and work it back down again. How's that? An extraordinary milestone for Jim, who has witnessed a century of life, wisdom, and change. It's not every day that we have this opportunity to honor someone who has lived through not only the major milestones of personal history, but also the remarkable events that have shaped our world. Jim, I know you don't want a long speech, but we must acknowledge not only your 100th birthday, but also some of your life achievements. Jim has an honorable and extensive military service career that began at the age of 15 with the Army Cadets. At the age of 19, he became part of the Royal Winnipeg Rifles, fighting battles through France, Germany, and Holland, sustaining both minor and major injuries from the many battles. He returned to Canada, where he remained in service with the Canadian Armed Forces until 1964, when he retired as a major. Jim is one of the few amazing veterans from World War II, and I must share that earlier this year, Jim returned to Normandy, France, to attend the official international ceremony of the 80th anniversary of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy. For those who may not know, Jim recently received the Provincial Ontario Senior Achievement Award in recognition of his continued volunteer work in the community and with the Memory Project, an initiative of the Royal Canadian Legion. Jim continues to educate and share his experiences through published books, documentaries, and presentations with the important purpose of ensuring the valiant efforts, courage, and lives lost fighting for our freedoms is never forgotten. Jim, take this moment to think and thank yourself for your service. You are a living testament to resilience, grace, and strength. You have seen the world change in ways most of us could only imagine, but you have also adapted and continued to make a positive impact on those around you. Today, we honor you on your 100 years of wisdom and memories, and we are pleased to share in this celebration with you. On behalf of Council and all in attendance today, happy 100th. We wish you many more wonderful moments in the years to come. Prior to the meeting, we presented Jim with a certificate and had a photo. Thank you so much. If you would like to take the microphone there and say a few words, we'd love to hear your stories.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, thank you for those kind remarks, and it's been a long time, 100 years, and people over the last while, they keep reminding me how old you are. Hey, Jim, you're 100, you're 100. And I said, shh, say I'm 98 or 99. But next year I'll be 101, so well, it's hard to say what I want to say, but I didn't think I'd have to make any remarks at all. But it's been a long time, and I have many significant memories of there's some periods of my life, Depression years and the war years, that were very significant. And lately, this last while, it's been very significant in my life and living in where I am now, Mount Albert. We've been there for over 25 years now. And people put up with us. They say, when they drive by, they go by fast, you know. They don't realize I'm harmless. So once again, I'd like to thank you very much for your kind remarks.
And thank you very much to the service to our country and our community. Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder, Councillor? Go ahead. Thank you. All in favor? We are under item F at committee recommendations day to adopt the committee of the whole council recommendations from the meeting held on September 4th, 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Johns, all those in favor.
Madam Mayor?
Sorry,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I was hoping to separate 163 and 164 out for separate and recorded votes.
Oh, thank you.
And then I would also like to separate 166 out, just because I didn't support it at the committee level, and I'd like to stay consistent there. So
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to move all of them, with the exception of those three, just to make it faster for you. 163, 164, and 166. So recorded for 163 and 164.
Through you, Madam Mayor, perhaps would council, since you do have a mover and a seconder for the balance of the items, would council like to deal with the balance of the items, and then I can entertain the balance?
Yes.
Okay. So you just need to call for the vote for the items excluding 163, 164, and 166. And I'll present those on the screen after.
Okay, thank you. We have a mover and a seconder. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Just bear with me for a moment as we pull the balance of the items. Through Madam Mayor, the first resolution that's on the screen before you is recommendation 2024-163. The item has been moved. We do require a seconder prior to entertaining the recorded vote.
I have a seconder, Councillor Johns.
Okay. Madam Mayor, the item has been moved by Councillor Roy de Clemente, seconded by Councillor Johns. Councillor Roy de Clemente has requested a recorded vote. Councillor Roy de Clemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Johns, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Through Madam Mayor, that motion's carried.
Thank you very much.
And moving along to the second item, that would be recommendation 2024-164. Again, this item, I believe, was moved by Councillor Roy de Clemente, would require a seconder,
Councillor Johns?
and it has been requested for a recorded vote. Councillor Roy de Clemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Johns, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sorry, I
Yes.
Thank you very much. That motion is carried. And the last item, Madam Mayor, is an item that was just separated out for council to consider. You would require a mover and a seconder, and I don't believe there were any recorded vote requirements.
Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Johns, you're moving this? Councillor Leahy? Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I was just thinking about our guests here in the audience today, and I was going to suggest that I'm not sure if they want to stay for the entire meeting or if there's anything else that they are interested in observing, or if they would like to perhaps leave at this point.
Joe, you need to leave now. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Miss you guys.
Have a good evening, Jim.
He walks better than I do.
We have minutes to pass at this point. The first one is adoption of minutes for the Committee of the Whole minutes from our meeting held on September 4th. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Carruthers, Councillor Crone. All those in favor? And that's carried. Number 2, to adopt the council minutes from the following meetings. Special meeting held on September 4th, 2024. Regular meeting held on September 4th, 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Foster, Councillor Leahy. All those in favor? Oh. Thank you for shutting the door, but when we are working and people, no, that's, I just thought I would explain it to you because sometimes people don't understand that we want to make sure that we have open meetings, and open means literally that the door is open so anybody can come in and listen to the debate. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Where was I? Oh, perfect. Down. There we go. Thank you. We are now at item H, statutory public meeting. And I'd like to introduce this to the room. Members of the public, this portion of the council meeting is a statutory public meeting under the Planning Act. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input on planning applications received by the town prior to a full technical analysis being conducted by our staff. No decision to approve or refuse the application will be made here tonight. There will be presentations from both town planning staff and the applicants on these development applications. Following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the proposals. Submissions can also be made in writing. It is very important that the town receive the names and addresses of individuals having an interest in this planning application. If you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any future meetings concerning the application being considered, you must provide your contact information to the clerk. Recent amendments to the Planning Act now limit the right for a third party to appeal any decision of council on a planning application to the Ontario Land Tribunal. These appeal rights are now provided only to the minister, the approval authority, the applicant, as well as a public body, a specified person, and a registered owner of any land to which the plan would apply, if before the plan was adopted. The public bodies, specified person, or registered owner made oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to council. The public meeting is being audio and video recorded for storing and broadcasting on the internet. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information is being collected and maintained for the purpose of sending correspondence relating to matters before council and creating a record that is available to the public in hard copy format and on the internet in an electronic format pursuant to Section 27 of the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Questions about the collection of personal information should be directed to the town clerk. I'll now ask the General Manager of Development Services to introduce the application.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, if there are no objections from members of council, we'd like to lead with the presentation portion by the applicant and then follow that with some remarks by planning staff. So at this time, I'd like to ask Ian Franklin to come and present the context for this first application.
Geez, I've done so many of these virtually, I almost forgot how to use one of these. Madam Mayor, members of council, thank you so much for having me. My name is Ian Franklin. I'm a senior planner at KLM Planning Partners. I'm currently representing Beachway Developments Incorporated for the official plan amendment of 18474 Yonge Street. We can go to the next slide, please. So essentially, when I mention the address 18474 Yonge Street, I'm actually only referring to a very small section on the far west side of the land, 0.861 hectares of land. This is just west of Yonge Street, north of Green Lane, and currently these lands are within the White Belt. We can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. As per the 2010 official plan, right now these lands are not designated as per Schedule A and the urban structure, currently undesignated lands. And if we can move to the next slide. And also within Schedule B, the urban planning and land use area, these lands are currently not designated, other than the remainder of the 18474 Yonge Street is in fact designated under the Green Lane Secondary Plan, which you can see in the following slide. Schedule B5, the Green Lane Corridor Land Use Plan, all but this small segment of the lands are currently within the Green Lane Secondary Plan. So if we move to the next slide, we can see that in the New York Region Official Plan 2022, these lands have in fact been designated. They're actually designated as part of the urban area as per Map 1. And if you move to the next slide, Map 1A, the land use designations, it's currently designated as community area. If we move to the next slide, the current draft official plan for the town of East Gwillimbury that was adopted and endorsed in June 2022 has also designated these lands as the DGA, or designated greenfield area, which is very similar to the remainder of the property, 18474 Yonge Street. If we can move to the next slide. Also on the Green Lane Secondary Plan, this has now been designated as the existing secondary plan area, but interestingly, the boundary of the secondary plan area has yet to be changed to include these lands, but it is in fact designated now as existing secondary plan area. So for the next slide, kind of an explanation of what this official plan amendment is. We're sort of viewing this as more of an administrative official plan amendment. It's to come into conformity with the York Region official plan and your newly endorsed official plan, kind of to bring the subject lands into the town's in-force and existing official plan as a low-density residential designation and within the Green Lane Corridor secondary plan. This designation does permit single-detached, semi-detached, and townhouse dwellings. If we could move to the next slide, we've just prepared a very, very preliminary development concept that can demonstrate just what can be done with this portion of the lands if developed. In terms of what we've produced, we can do an additional 17 single-detached dwellings, which assists with the overall housing demand in East Gwillimbury, which is about 19.7 units per hectare, the low-density designation, which permits 20 units per hectare. But of course, all of the detailed design work is going to be done at the community design phase of the development application process. So if we can move to the next slide. This is generally the planning process that we're in. We've done a pre-consultation meeting with the town. We're now on the official plan amendment stage. There's the community design phase that will get into a lot of the detailed and technical studies. That will be followed by individual subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment applications, followed by site plan applications, so on and so forth, into building permits and hopefully some lovely new communities. And then the next slide is simply my name and how to get a hold of me. I'm more than happy to take any questions from the mayor, council, or any members of the public.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to invite our senior planner, Mathieu Daou, to provide some additional context and respond to any technical questions that members of council may have.
Good to have you with us tonight.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair, the report before you today is a public meeting memo for a proposed official plan amendment located at 18474 Yonge Street. The purpose of today's meeting is to provide an opportunity for both council and the public to provide comments on the application. So as mentioned, the applicants are proposing to redesignate 2.13 acre portion of the subject lands from whitebelt lands to low density residential. In turn, the OPA will also bring said portion of lands within the town's urban center and more specifically the Green Lane secondary plan. To provide a bit of context, the lands originally thought to be included in the complete community secondary plan. However, due to ownership, size of the parcel, and location, the town accepted a standalone approach before you today. So in closing, the OPA is the first step in the planning process. The applicant is also required to submit a community design plan, draft plan of subdivision, zone amendment, and site plan as mentioned to facilitate the proposed mixed-use development. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're now going to proceed to the public comment area.
Madam Mayor, for this particular application, we have one registered speaker, and that would be Patrick Corsetti. I believe that individual should be in the audience. Patrick Corsetti? Madam Mayor, that was the only registered speaker for this particular application. I'm not sure if there are other members of the audience that wanted to speak to this application.
I'm not seeing anyone indicate with their hand, so I'm assuming not. Do we have questions from members of council? Councilor Roy DeClemente, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments as we're working through this process, and obviously these are to be addressed through the application. I note that I'm pretty sure that there is a heritage house on this property, so I think that needs to be addressed through the discussions. As well, there's an environmentally protected area that comes through the middle of bisects this property. I'm not sure if the applicant is looking to put a road through there or not, or whether that's an appropriate use for an environmentally protected area. And thirdly, it looks to me like this particular parcel of land is being kind of, I guess from feedback that I might provide, is that it's being designed in isolation and doesn't really look to the other parcels of land around it. So the proposal here looks to be putting a dead-end road into this rather than creating a network for the community. So those are sort of my preliminary thoughts and considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council? I'm not seeing any at this time. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Roy DeClemente, Councillor Johns. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have a second application, and Beijing, if you would take over for us, that would be
Thank you.
appreciated.
Through you, Madam Chair, we have a representative of Sundial Homes. I'm sorry I don't have your name, but I'm sure you can introduce yourself to present on this next application. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is Chris Matson of Matson Planning and Development, and I'm a consultant for Sundial Homes. Typically, Liz Housen, our planner, would be making this presentation, but she is out of town this week. Sundial, as some of you may know, have been working in the town since about 2011. I've been also on their file, currently building in the Sharon community. And next slide, please. And perhaps I won't go into all of the details because this is pretty much exactly what you just heard. So I might skip through some things, but you can tell me to stop if you need to. But the Sundial portion, again, it's a white belt land piece, and it just made sense to do it on our own because it's part of the Green Lane secondary plan area just adjacent to it, and Sundial has quite a larger land holding beside it. So you can see it's located on the north side of Green Lane, which is again west of Yonge Street and east of Bathurst. And it's approximately 10 hectares in size, which is roughly 25 acres. Next slide, please. This slide just shows the lands on the far left, the west side, with the red dashed line around it in context with the Green Lane secondary plan. Next slide, please. This slide represents the current preliminary community design plan for this northwest area of the Green Lane secondary plan. There are 4 owners. Sundial is one of the owners. They're the largest owner. This shows these former white belt lands, kind of part of that. So it shows the pretty simple road extensions, connecting links with the rest of the community design plan area. Next slide. And again, maybe I'll just flip through this quickly, but it's the same existing official plan designations as you just heard. Next slide, please. And these next couple of slides we can probably skip through, but you can see we're on the bottom left, and they're the white belt lands, again, in your existing OP. And as was mentioned earlier, next slide, please. The region has approved these lands to be converted into a settlement area, and the town official plan, the proposed town official plan, also represents that. Again, same as you heard previously. Next slide, please. And again, our official plan application is really administrative in nature, and again, the same as you saw before, community area, and adding it to the existing Green Lane secondary plan. This application is a little bit different because of its location down along Green Lane. It really continues that corridor type of land use, so there's a higher order mix of land uses. There's low density, medium density 1, and medium density 2. Next slide, please. And this, again, just some OP schedule showing it in context with the rest of the community, and we can skip through the next couple of slides. And then the next one too. So this, yeah, there we go. This just shows, again, the same lands with the land use designations in color. Again, you can see it's kind of an extension of what is already there along, reflecting Green Lane and the higher order uses next to Green Lane. Next slide. Just more policy zoning items. It's rural We have to go through a planning process, as you heard, to bring the lands into urban development. Next slide, please. For these former White Belt lands in front of you, here are the proposed development statistics. Again, has to go through the community design process and draft plan process, but you can see a mix of all different types of units, singles and street towns and back-to-backs. And we have a block for medium density, probably a small apartment building on the far west side. And adjacent to us would be a pond and the sanitary pumping station that's needed for about 75% of the Northwest group. Next slide, please. I won't go into all of the relevant studies, but as part of our community design plan process, as our 4-member group, we've been working on it for well over a year now, working on a lot of the background reports, and these reports anticipated these lands coming in because of the regional process, so we've been studying these lands with the balance of the community. Next slide, please. I won't go into all of those because you heard that previously, just all of the various planning policy documents that we are reflecting. And again, you heard this, next slide, please, sorry. The Region OP designating them as urban area and community land, and your proposed new draft OP also bringing them in. And again, I'm sorry if I'm skipping it through quickly, but you've just heard everything. And again, the next steps are the same, going through the community design plan process, the draft plan, and the zoning. And that is everything quickly. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to invite our planner, Nicole Schroeder, who can provide some additional context and answer any technical questions.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. So the purpose of this public meeting is to inform and obtain feedback from council and the public about an official plan amendment located at Part Lot 101 and 102, Concession WYS. The purpose of this application is to redesignate a 10.22 hectare or 25.25 acre portion of the subject lands from agricultural long-term growth area to low and medium density residential, and to include said lands within the Green Lane secondary plan. While the subject lands would otherwise have been a part of the complete community secondary plan, due to the location adjacent to the other lands under the same ownership within the Green Lane secondary plan, it is logical that the applicant is proposing to amend the Green Lane secondary plan to include the subject lands. This will allow for more comprehensive planning and development within this area. The proposed official plan amendment is the first step in a number of planning approvals. The community design plan, draft plan of subdivision, zoning bylaw amendment, and site plan control required to facilitate the proposed residential mixed-use development proposed by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I believe the balance of this section would be for the public comments. I don't believe that the individual that registered to attend virtually has joined us tonight. However, if there are members of the public here in the audience, they're more than welcome to register in the back of the room and come to the lectern for this particular item. Madam Mayor, I don't believe we have any.
Greetings, good evening.
Would you mind just coming to the lectern, please? And you can provide your name, your last name, and then following your comments, would you be able to register in the back? Thank you.
Sure. So it's my first time here. Nice to meet you all, and a little bit unfamiliar with the process. So I speak here, right? So, okay, no problem. My name is Ali Reza Terani. I'm a resident of town of East Glenbury. I live at the section R2-3, which is the area in the south of Green Lane between Yonge and Bathurst. So I think both applications, the previous one and this one, so I had just one comment. So the comment is basically whenever any even minor collision or construction or anything happens within or in the area of Green Lane, it has a severe commute impact on the residents of my area, so we have to take the 404 or 400 and coming to Green Lane, getting stock there. So just wanted to make sure in the short term during the construction, hopefully proper actions are taken to make sure it's not going to make a life of the residents there hard, but also in the long term and a strategic vision. So as we are going to have more people living in that area, hopefully in the planning and the streets and that kind of design, those matters will be considered as well. Thank you very much. Should I go now?
Thank you for your input. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure if we have any additional comments for tonight. We are just checking online and we still don't have our virtual participant. I believe at this point you're just proceeding with questions from members of council.
Members of council, questions to what we've observed here this evening? I'm not seeing any at this time. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor LaHaye, Councillor Johns. All those in favor? And that's carried. Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to note that this has been a slightly, the process for public meetings is evolving, and so I welcome any feedback from members of council. Please feel free to reach out to me in terms of the process. We are trying to respond to feedback in terms of the execution of public meetings, so I welcome any feedback that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm now going to move to item J.
Sorry, could I ask?
No, go ahead.
You said that you were looking feedback on that. Like, what did you do differently to improve? So I could, yeah.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. And I mean, I didn't mean to take up meeting time, but I can certainly address that. So in the past, there has been a presentation by the staff member that led off the public meeting, followed by a presentation by the applicant. And it was there was some concerns expressed that it portrays the application as having some level of endorsement, tacit endorsement. And so we've tried to the real focus and the purpose of a public meeting is to present the application without any sort of comment or commentary or prejudice, if you will, and allow for the questions and comments to come through. So that's what we were trying to achieve and keep it a little bit more neutral, if you will.
We'll know the next time. It was a training program for us. Thank you. I'm at item J now, correspondence for consideration. I'm not so sure we want to pass this one or not. It's the Lions Club with the Santa Claus parade. I've been good. I just want to make sure everyone else has. Thank you. Councillor LaHaye, all those in favor? And that's carried. And the next one is regarding consideration of a draft municipal housing initiative resolution be received. Is there any further information for us on this? I'm sorry, I missed the, there we are, yes, okay. No, any questions, comments? All those in favor? Or you have a, go ahead.
I'm just wondering how this got onto our agenda. It seems a little odd from the things that we usually see on our agenda. Just wondering how it ended up here.
Through you, Madam Mayor, perhaps I can provide some feedback. That was as a request of the Office of Mayor and Council to place this, since this request came to council.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Mover, will you move? No. No. You move it? Okay. And a seconder? Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. At this point, we're at the confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-067, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council meeting held on September 24th, 2024, be taken as read, enacted, and signed by the mayor and municipal clerk. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor, go ahead. All those in favor? And that's carried. And we are at item O, and that is an adjournment at 6:45 p.m. Councillor Johns, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? And that's carried. And I believe,
Madam Mayor, that concludes your council meeting. We are now going to have to transition to the committee of the whole meeting that was recessed earlier. So just bear with us for a few minutes as we transition into the other meeting.
thank you.